Hello everybody, welcome to Classic Reddit, where real humans read Reddit content. Today's question from askreddit is by Confuciously, and it is, what's the worst thing that you have ever tasted? First response is by Avalon Puff. When I was super young, probably way too young to be going down to the lake near our house on my own, I came across this black thing on the ground. I couldn't figure out what it was, but it looked like a delicious chestnut, like the ones my mom would bring home in huge bags to snack on and feed to the squirrels. So I did what any sensible pre-kindergartner would do, and I took a bite. It was not a chestnut. To this day, I can't imagine what it was, but it was the worst thing I've ever put in my mouth. I still remember crying as I was walking all the way back home. I was sure I'd been poisoned. I thought I was going to die. Edit. Chestnuts, not hazelnuts. I once tried to eat something that looked like a chestnut. It turned out to be a raw acorn. Bitter as F. Maybe a black puffball mushroom? Once they start rotting, they smell foul. The outside will look normal, the inside will be all disgusting. I was going to say that it could have been a leech, but then I remembered that leeches don't look like chestnuts. This one by the Thimble of Gorbash, in response to the worst thing you ever tasted. The glue they use on temporary dental crowns is extremely rude. I love it, but I also had really bad teeth and needed 10 plus root canals and crowns. So every time I went and got one done, when I tasted that glue, it meant I was one step closer to being able to smile again. I love everything about the dentist. I went from looking like I eat rocks and never smiling and covering my mouth when I talk to enjoying showing my teeth off, and really can't wait to be able to take these masks off to keep showing them off. I don't mind the dentist, really, but the second that stuff or whatever they use to numb you hits my tongue, I start to gag. Oh god, yeah. I remember demanding if my dentist had ever tasted it, because how could he be doing this knowingly to another human? He said, unfortunately, they were frequently made to try it, to remind them of the importance of getting procedures right the first time. Didn't help me, though. Guy needed to refit my crown 4 times before the 5th one arrived, and he managed to jam it in. This reply by Because I'm Count Olaf. A cheese bowl at this church lady's house, one of my grandma's friends. It tasted like dirty socks that a cat had been playing with for months. But I have never laughed as hard as I did that day. I stupidly asked my then 11-year-old sister, who is on the spectrum and has problems modulating her voice, if she had had a cheese bowl. She proceeded to effectively yell, "Yeah, and it tasted like a butt's foot." The look of death we got from that old lady. Whew. Apparently, she saw the phrase butt foot somewhere and decided it would become her new go-to. After that incident, let's just say that the saying was forced into early retirement. My younger sister is also on the spectrum, and she says the most uncomfortably hilarious shit all the time. We're in our 30s, so I optimistically assume it'll carry on forever. It's 5 a.m. here, and I'm feeding my son a bottle, but I just laughed my ass off and jiggled like crazy, trying to laugh silently at your sister's comment. I don't think he is going back to sleep now. A response by Faded from White. So I put it in my mouth, and it moved it about. It tasted so awful, I just had to shout, "What the f*** is this that I'm trying to eat?" Yeah, that's when my sister explained. It tastes like Butt's feet. By Laser Penguin. I'm a cheese guy. I love all kinds of cheese. The stinky blue cheese, yeah, I love it. I went to France, and the first night I was with my French girlfriend at some work dinner thing, and they had goat cheese. Hell yeah! Slathered some on some baguette and took a big bite. Oh, worst thing ever. Tasted like old bowls. Literally, tasted how old sweaty bowls smell. I questioned everything I thought I knew about cheese. No other cheese, thankfully, was like that for the rest of the trip. This reply to what's the worst thing you've ever tasted is by Snooty Boopers. Not me, but I made spaghetti once, a few months back in the early fall, and I guess after the initial plates, I left it to cool uncovered so I could put the leftovers away. So the next day, my husband is enjoying some spaghetti for lunch when crunch, he bit into a stink bug that had landed in it. And if you know how bad a stink bug smells when you squash it, you can only imagine how bad it tastes when you bite it. My husband was projectile vomiting within 5 minutes, and it's been months, and he won't let me make spaghetti anymore because it reminds him of the experience. I cannot fathom how bad that must have tasted. A reply by Excited Boat 44. We get them in the houses every fall. One of my cats sees them and just walks away. The other, she follows them for ages, then carefully just takes the whole stink bug in her mouth. She screws up her whole face like it's the worst thing she's ever tasted, but she still finishes the job. She does this every time she sees one. I don't know why, but it reminds me of the time my friend was drunk while making spaghetti, and he managed to set fire to the mixing spoon that he was using, which was supposedly made out of indestructible material they use for bowling balls. Spaghetti was undercooked too. Oh my god, that's terrible. I would take a mouthful of mold before a bite into a stink bug. I've had a few moldy things in my mouth before. Most recently was a GD donut. I experienced visceral pain on your husband's behalf. I hate stink bugs. So your husband now has what's called a conditioned taste aversion. It's supposed to protect us by helping remember that this food made you throw up previously and likely is poisonous. But then something like this happens and pasta is ruined for life. This is also why cancer patients sometimes have dramatic changes in food preferences after treatment, since the condition is related to vomiting and remembering the last thing that you ate. I've been unable to eat tomato soup or even stand the smell without gagging ever since I was a child, since the only time I had it was when I was really ill and I immediately hurled it back up. I have to retreat upstairs whenever one of my siblings is making it. The smell is so strong. I had a stink bug in my glass of water without realizing it. When you're not expecting something crunchy and all of a sudden you got something crunchy in your mouth, it tasted bitter, astringent, and a bit like dry citrus. It was not bad enough to induce vomiting, but I would prefer not to taste that again. I had some salsa that was made with stink bugs because they're supposed to taste like cilantro. Other than the texture, it wasn't that bad. Same thing happened to me. Plus my knees were weak and my arms got all sweaty. This reply by Charitable. I left it to cool uncovered so I could put the leftovers away. You don't have to leave things to cool before refrigerating. The only issue is putting a lot of hot food in the fridge and heating up the insides of the fridge. Otherwise, it's better to refrigerate food as soon as you can. This reply by Red to Leader to what's the worst thing you've ever tasted? Brussels sprout flavored Jones soda from the holiday pack about 15 years ago. Dude, yes! My friends and I bought that pack and all took turns trying the sodas. We saved the Brussels sprouts one for last, and it's good we did because we all vomited. We were in my friend's kitchen and he went first and vomited in the sink. Then another guy, I went and ran out the back door and puked in a bush. Then I went and puked in the bush next to the other bush. It was quite a ride. Did not know about that one, but came here to say my worst was ranch dressing flavored soda. I couldn't even swallow it. Throat slammed shut. It was horrible. Smelled like moldy socks and tasted even worse. I bought that one back in the day. I took it to the family get-together with the idea that we'd all try them and have a good laugh or whatever. But everybody refused to participate. I didn't want them to go to waste, so I took them to work. They all refused to participate. So there I was at home alone, sadly trying some of the worst sodas ever made. Brussels sprouts was definitely the worst. It's an abomination. Kill it with a fire and let its name be stricken from the book of life. I had a butter-flavored soda earlier this year, and it was the most god-awful thing. Maybe the worst thing that I've ever tasted personally. I kind of expected it to be sweet and savory, like butterscotch maybe, but it tasted exactly like carbonated movie theater butter. Jesus, I came to this thread looking for this exact thing. I had to chug Jack Daniels to get the taste out of my mouth after a small swig of it. That was rancid. Excuse me? Brussels sprouts? Flavored soda? Brussels sprouts are already awful enough. Why would anyone decide to make them into... Why do people hate Brussels sprouts so much? Brussels sprouts aren't that bad, guys. They really aren't. They're pretty good. You just can't cook for shit if you don't like Brussels sprouts. Drown them in that butter people like. And, you know, people eat them. Put bacon with them, you know. People like bacon. Yikes. A reply by Just Why. Oh, that's funny. They taste much better if someone cooks them properly. Most people just don't know how. This reply to what's the worst thing you ever tasted by Hairy Man Beast. A bird shit in my fucking mouth. I was lying on my back in a field and the thing just flew by. It was a hit job. It tasted like warm berries. I hate these sky rats. Some of you are picturing a nice berry dinner and don't think it sounds too bad. These weren't raspberries. They were assberries. Oh my god, this happened to me too. I've never tasted anything that bitter in my life. Just to clarify, is this like a 2 girls 1 cup bird or a bioengineered individual reconnaissance drone? That happened to a buddy of mine when he was riding on the back of another friend's moped. He was stoned and looking up at the sky, riding around our neighborhood at like 15 to 20 miles per hour or so. A seagull shits right down his throat. He falls off the bike and the guy driving it loses it due to the weight change. Dang. I tried to catch a snowflake. I opened up my mouth. Next year, I think I'll wait until the birds have flown south. I remember reading this back in primary school. It gave me a kick. Alright everybody, thanks for watching. If you want to get involved with some software that helps you make YouTube content and have the flexibility to choose what this content is about, please reach out to us. We're trying to speak to as many of you as possible. That's what these videos are made with. The idea is that there is a limitless amount of content out there on the internet that you can explore, and you can monetize the content on a YouTube channel if you add enough of your human element to it. So you can't just have automated content be monetized on a YouTube channel. But if you have a lot of reaction and response and your voice is, you're reading stuff in your own voice, and that is how you can increase the chance that you're able to have monetized content, right? So what we're trying to get at is you can set up a situation where you browse the internet for things that you're interested in, and you make content through using this tool to browse the internet for your interests. And through making that content, you can maintain and run YouTube channels and things like that. We can't give any guarantees about monetization yet because we haven't, right now this channel has 4 subscribers. It's still brand new. It started like a week or 2 ago. So If you're hearing this, you're an early bird. All right, thanks for watching. If you have anything you want to have read by a human voice, comment below. See you next time. Ciao.